So we are ready for the next panel. And as I said, I would appreciate if you would come a little bit closer because we have a guest on Zoom from Netherlands and we don't want to let him feel alone with me here. Make the room a little bit warmer when you get a bit closer. That would be really great and nice of you. So thank you very much. We're talking about music and the site, film and music. How does it work together? It goes, of course, hand in hand. And I'm sure you remember soundtracks, which became the soundtrack of your life, then from movies you saw before, and they are part of our life and of our own journey. So we're talking about the very important part, music in movies. And for that, I have the owner of Wisseloord company, founder of the Wisseloord Academy for France, Algeria, and the Netherlands. And he is now in the Netherlands. Please welcome Malik Berrabah. Good afternoon.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. You?
Very good, very good. We're glad to have you here. Where are you now?
I'm in my studio, in Studio One in the Netherlands. So, yeah, in Wisseloord Studios.
Yeah, Netherlands is very big, but where are you there?
It's the city is called Hilversum, which is the music and media city. So it's in the media park next to all the TV stations, radios, and all the major labels are around the corner as well.
Okay, so this is the place where you have your studio.
Yeah, correct.
Only there because you're rooted also in Algeria and in France. So is that the only place where you have your studio, or are you mobile?
No, actually, well, I'm half French, half Algerian, but my company is not in Algeria. We have one location in the Netherlands. We have one in Paris, one in Milan, one in Tallinn. From next week onwards, one in Stockholm and in Miami.
Very good. I'm taking a seat now. I don't know, camera-wise, which is the best place. I take this one here, and I can see you. You're a songwriter, you're a producer, you arrange music, you compose. So you started with music. Maybe you can tell us just briefly how your musical journey was. How did you start? What was your first instrument, and in what combinations did you make your music?
Yeah, sure. It's been a minute. So at first I started to play music. My first instrument was classical flute, so transversal flute. As a kid, I just wanted to make music, and my parents had no clue, so they brought me to a music school. There was no place in piano, so I ended up playing the flute. I just happened to be quite good, so I did conservatory first in France, in Chambéry. That's where I grew up. Then I studied in Geneva, in London, Paris. And next to this, I always played piano, keyboard, and then I did several studies. So I have 3 masters, one in classical flute, one in pop, piano and keyboard, and one in composition, arrangement, orchestration. And then from my, let's say from like when I was 16, 17, I started to write songs and to produce for pop music. And then the biggest part of my career has been in pop music.
In European pop music or in African pop music?
No, like actually all over the world, but only a couple of projects with like African projects, but very little, to be honest. Mostly like US artists, but also in France, I produced the TV shows, short movies, TV commercials, like mainstream pop music, indie bands, like whatever would come on my way. And then the last few years, I've been focusing mostly on the development on the business side, and I work with only like 1 or 2 projects that are really close to me personally, but I don't do so many projects like since I'm 15, and I'm now 46, so for 30 years it's been like a whole bunch of different things.
So how much are you influenced by the Algerian music from your Algerian roots?
Well, musically, actually not really, because I really make like quite like pop music in general, like electronic music and bands and everything. But probably like the biggest impact that I have to grow up in such a multicultural family. I like to believe that I'm quite open-minded. That's it.
I think you have to be, and when you start playing music with bands or perform on stage, there is a difference in producing music for films. So first of all, thank you for sharing your personal journey, but now let's go to the creative process, how to produce music. Where is the challenge in producing music for films and for movies?
I would say like the biggest part is communication and also understanding the way that we talk about music. Because it's such an emotional process. Often like film producers or even like when there are brands involved, like let's say in film category, I would also maybe put like TV commercials because they're also short films. To convert like an emotional thing into a sound and a creative process can be tricky, because if you make a track and then the producer say, yeah, this piece of music has to be a bit blue and green, it's like, oh, what do you mean? It's like drums or guitars, or like, and to understand each other, to avoid, that people have different visions. That's the main challenge, I would say, for me.
You said when you make music on stage or when you produce music, you produce more pop music and European influenced music. When you do film music, are you then influenced by African music, because we are talking about African film or Afro-diasporic productions?
Well, like, to be completely transparent, I didn't do that many projects with like African movies. I did 2 independent projects, like short films. I just based myself on the raw footage, and like I can try to explain the process in a cognitive way, but that's not really how I function, to be honest. I just watch the movie, I get feelings about it, and then I try to express it, so to enhance what's going on the screen. And of course, I have some knowledge, but the biggest part of my creative process is more coming from my feelings, and how to explain this. I wish I knew, like it would make my life easier, but I don't always really know. I'm just really intuitive.
But we want to learn from your expertise and from your knowledge as well. So you said the most important thing by making music for the film is communication, communicating with the writers, maybe with the director, with the production. So what is important in that communication? How should communication work in that part?
I personally like to have a bit of references. So if there's a director and they have like a clear vision on the emotions that they would to convey through the movie, then I ask them some raw footage so that we get an idea of the film itself, and if they have some reference tracks so that I can understand a bit what kind of emotions they want to express, and also how to get there into production. More than just talking about feelings, because again, as I say, if somebody says, yeah, this scene should be really dark and with a bit of blue and cloudy and it should be angry, it's so hard to, everybody is experiencing its feeling in a different way. But if you have like clear references, I like this kind of tracks here, then I can, just have a reference and a bit of a direction where to head towards.
So it's all about knowing your craft, knowing your instruments, knowing the music, how to write, how to compose, but you have to be able to deal with people as well. So it's not only a creative skill, which is on demand on that time, but you also have to deal with people. So how many stakeholders are there?
It depends really per project. This is such a, like the whole creative industry in general, like film, but also just music and working with bands and artists and labels or not, or independent. So you have like bigger productions where there's a lot of people involved in communication with a lot of different opinions. And then sometimes you have just like a more independent production with just 2 or 3 people who are sometimes just friends. So it's really case per case, and to be flexible, first of all, to be empathic, and also to learn to listen to the different angles and try to make something out of this. I would say it's like 90% of the job. It's the same thing that working with a band. If you work with like 5 musicians and they all say the same thing, but they mean something different, you just need to listen.
So how much politics is involved in your work?
Most of it. Like,
Most of it.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah, it's people's politics and psychology, I would say. Like more than, yeah. Of course, there's music and being able to play and to make something beautiful that's going to touch people. But I think it's beyond music. Like people are quite interesting animals in general. And to be able to be open-minded and just respectful and to really hear everybody's opinion and feelings about it, I think this is I think that's what I like the most, to be honest.
I'm asking for that because I want to get to the point how it is with the business and how the options for monetizing music are these days, because I think that has changed within the 20 years a lot. Maybe you can tell us about the change in your business during the last years, because I think the music and films people like to consume and like to watch, but I think the work you guys contribute is far underrated.
Yes, so there are so many different lines of way to try to even make money from music, because the way that I look at it is that there's an industry which is organized around it, but on the creative side, it's kind of a big organized hobby. And sometimes you work on a project and you do it because it's bringing you network, and then you don't get paid, but hopefully it's going to bring something else that will get paid, and then you have to navigate. So I have a lot of different businesses, maybe for the listeners to get a bit an overview of this. So first of all, I make music, so I generate money from the copyright, the different intellectual property. So you have the master side, which is the physical production. So let's say if a track is released on Spotify, you get X amount of money per streams, and then Spotify is paying to you or to a label if there's a label taking care of the release and the marketing, let's say. And then there's the intellectual property, which is the publishing side, and the royalties on that side. So if I write a song but somebody else is producing it, there's two different money streams, the label side and the publishing side. So as a songwriter, a musician, I make money from a bit personally from those two sides. Then next to this, I have a commercial studio, which is a really big, it's actually the biggest recording facility of continental Europe. We have two big studios where we do TV shows, orchestra recordings, live streaming, concert, whatever, 4 production rooms, 15 writing rooms, 8 bedrooms. So it's a big studio complex. So we are renting the studios to all kinds of artists who record here. We also have a publishing company together with BMG, where we organize writing camps and collaboration sessions between producers, writers, and every time there are songs that are being created, a piece of music, then we are the publisher, so we own a part of their copyright for creating those opportunities for them, and then we are placing or pitching the tracks to TV commercials, to movies, to artists overall. And sometimes there's a track and it doesn't land anywhere, but sometimes it gets pitched somewhere and then we make some money from that intellectual property. And then the last part is that I have a school which is in 7 countries, which is more a career development center for artists, songwriters, and producers than a school, where we, of course, teach them to improve their songwriting, their productions, but we also organize a lot of collaboration. So it's a big international hub. It's actually becoming bigger than what I can even understand myself, because I just started with myself with 1 stagiaire, and now there's hundreds of people a bit everywhere. But it's a beautiful way to connect people and help them to create opportunities with each other. So the way that the company is making money is a bit of a mix of everything. The same then, as a musician, often you do a bit of teaching. Sometimes you make some money from production. Sometimes you play a bit live, and then you try to navigate. Only you multiply the...
Or to Netherlands, we don't know. Well, let's wait a second. Let's wait a second, maybe. Yes, I think music business has changed, so you have to diversify the way of monetizing the whole business. So You have to teach, you have to produce, you have to publish, you have to be very aware of the laws and about the legal stuff at this moment. So I think musicians are challenged very much. They have to be business people and creative as well. So it's not like it was before. And there are so many platforms to understand the different platforms. I mean, if you look at Spotify, the money people get from Spotify is not that much. It's far more little than it was before by selling physical, like CDs or records. So I think, can we get him back? Weird. So that's, yeah, let's call. 1, 2, 3. Malik.
Yes.
Oh, you see, it works. It's magic.
Computers will always be computers, I guess.
No, we want to call you. We called you and you came back. So,
yeah, okay. Yeah, it works.
Very good, very good. Can you say something about the African film music business?
Yeah, so again, like I don't have so much experience with this so far. So I don't know if I'm really the best one to talk. Like I have only a couple of experiences, so I don't want to have any judgment. And also, like those productions I worked on, they were not really big productions. They were like independent artists. It was all those experiences were really enriching on the creative side. And if I'm like, it was beautiful people that I met, and with who I built actually really strong friendships, and it was really projects that were really interesting in terms of personal development. I must say that financially it was not super interesting for me, like so far. But yeah, I can talk only about my personal experience.
As we see in the music industry, Afrobeat and Amapiano is coming up, and there's a big business in that. So, do you see there any participation from the African side in the music business?
Yeah. So, like,
and in the film business as well.
Yeah. So I don't have so much that I see the link between the film part, because this is not my expertise. But on the pop music side, I think that there's a huge impact from African music and African influences and rhythmical and the musicianship. I do know that a lot of majors are trying to set up offices more in Africa. There's a lot of songwriters and producers that do sessions in the studios here, because on the creative side there's a big impact and a big market opening from the listener side. The same way that the Latin music, for example, is really quite predominant. So that's why a lot of majors are moving to Miami. What I do know is that the way that it's organized yet in terms of copyright, there's like in a lot of countries you have copyright agencies. Like in France, you have SACEM, in the Netherlands, BIMA Stemra, in the US, ASCAP, BMI, GEMA, I think in Germany. I don't think the societies of copyright are that well organized in Africa, but I also cannot talk that much about that. I don't know so much.
I think the infrastructure is not that big or that good in those countries, although there are very creative producers and very successful producers. Do you have a recommendation or tips for young musicians who want to get into music business? Because your infrastructure is quite solid. You have a studio, you have distribution, you work with the labels and all that. So what is your recommendation for young artists who want to go into music business, into film business?
Yeah, it's such a difficult question, because I got lucky, and if I see all my friends who have started to make music and everything, I could lie about this, that I really know how things work. Like, what is for sure is that you have to work a lot, also get a bit lucky, and what is really important, and that's why I built the academy, because I managed through the years to build this whole big network. Because I am quite social and I connect with a lot of people and I'm curious and I like to, I'm also an entrepreneur, but to really not focus only on the music side, but the connections with your peers on the creative side, but also meet A&Rs from labels, publishers, and everybody is somebody. You never know. Like the managing director of BMG Wizo, I have my publishing company now. He used to be an intern in another company in the past, and then you become friends. And then a couple of years later, is the one who is in charge. And the way that I experience the music industry, a lot of people are like, "What? There are hard deals, and people are sharks, and you have to watch out and everything." I experience completely different. It's like a big network of people that are really passionate, who like what they want to do, and then the whole culture of I help you, you help me. I think that's probably how I managed to build for myself, and just sharing, like, because it always comes back left or right. So that's why they say sometimes I work for free and I help this one, and I build a whole school based on this. So there's now more and more people that used to be student of my, I'm not teaching that much myself, but first I did. And some of those students, if I would have taken them from up till down, like 5 years later, they have like half of their 5 songs in the top 10 from whatever country. And then they become my clients, or they become colleagues, or then and so that's probably, you were asking what I got from my culture, from my background from Algeria, like that. If you have one thing, you just share it with everybody. Like, I think that's what I took from my education. And like that whole cake became bigger and bigger, but the whole community is working from it. There's so many freelancers that work from the ecosystem of my studio, or the academy, or the publishing. And yeah, one day they are my client, one day after they are my colleagues, or one time I pay them, the next time they have a project where they pay me. And that sharing and connecting is just as important as the making music itself. I don't know if it helps anything.
Yes, interesting that you say that, because I hear always, or many times, that musicians get ripped off by the labels, or that people are not very honest, and that there are many deal breakers and all that. And these are the positive sides to say that.
I like to say something about this, actually, because that's a discussion that I also find quite important, and also we talk a lot about it in my academy. All those horror stories, they are from both sides, because you have to be aware in music, when you make a deal on something, like on a track or on an album, as a label or as an artist or as a producer, and I see it on all the different sides, is that you are making an agreement on something that doesn't exist. So let's say, let's imagine you make music yourself, and I would be the label, and I say, I'm going to invest 50,000 euros in your project, and then we see what happens. Let's do 50-50 or 80-20. So we're actually making an agreement on something that's not here. If it doesn't work, the project, it's actually a great deal for you. If it works really big, it's actually a bad deal for you. And that's where those horror stories are getting born from, because there are 3 stages. If the project doesn't work, there will be discussions. If it works medium, in general, everybody is kind of happy. If it works really big, there will be other discussions. And that whole misconception of people making greedy deals and everything, I don't see it like this at all. Like, it's just that next time okay, the project went like this, maybe we should discuss a kickback, and then you have to be creative, and education and understanding of all those parameters that are variable on if it becomes really big. And then once you make an agreement, you have to live with it both sides. And that's a bit of a gambling thing with music in general. And I don't know that many, of course, there are greedy people everywhere in any kind of businesses. But my experience so far, and I think that's why I managed to do it for a long time, is I had horrible deals where I lost like a lot of money. And sometimes I had a great deal where I made like too much money for what I did, but it was never coming from like a bad intention from both sides. And then if you can communicate, and next time, if you want to keep on working with those people, then you reevaluate, and then you make a new agreement. And being educated and understanding why things go like this, I think, is the key.
So is that what you teach in your academy?
We have a lot of different modules. We talk about songwriting, composition, production, collaborations, but also business side. And what is quite specific from this academy, and that's why it's growing so quick, is that there's no fixed teachers. It's only guests to give workshops. Like, all the business classes are not given by teachers who actually they teach because they don't make money from making music. We invite labels, publishers, managers, people from the live sector to give workshops. It's all successful producers that give production classes. Nobody is giving lessons because it's their job. It's just people who want to come to share their experience. And that's actually a quite beautiful ecosystem for people to grow opportunities, but also develop on the creative side.
So this could be maybe an example also for people who are producing music in African countries for the film industry.
Yeah, actually we have a couple of projects and classes around the music for images in general. Like we did a couple of projects around short films, like independent movies, but also TV commercials. And then we invite production agencies and everything, and then they give a briefing, and then the students can work on it. And we also got some students to get some placements into those projects. So it's beyond classes. It's also straight plugged into opportunities.
Thank you very much. So thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time and sharing your expertise. Malik, I wish you a good afternoon and take care.
Thank you. Have a good day. I hope it was interesting. Bye-bye.
Oh, you want to say something?
I just want to remind people that this...
Oh, hold on.
This was an introduction to tomorrow is Film Music Days, and we have fabulous people. If you're at all interested in film music, we have Godwin Tom from Sony Music Nigeria on Zoom. We have composers from the films that are here in the festival. We have a fabulous lineup, and I'm so sorry that we had one on Zoom without the other people. Things have fallen apart, but tomorrow is a big day for film music, Afro film music, because the whole idea was to bring film music into the film market. And the idea behind Afro particularly is that the roots of all music, except the European orchestration, classical music, all the music you see today in the world, the roots are in Africa. They're doing rap in Bangladesh, in Korea. The major studios use rap to push the movie, the story forward. I want to change the flow of exchange more toward Africa rather than talking about this, we're going to include Africa, people of color. It's been said over and over, the majority of the people in this world are not white, and it's just, we've reached the tipping point. We can't keep on letting them, us, whatever, call the shots. We want people to go and get back to the roots in order to find the new beginnings, new originality, and that's through music and rhythm. 50% of what we are experiencing when we watch a movie is the sound, and the movie emotions are brought out by that music. We're not conscious of it, and it's time we get conscious. That's why I want this to be a success. So tell your friends, and please come tomorrow.
Sydney, thank you very much for saying that and for stating that. And you can go on the homepage of Afro Berlin or follow on Instagram and support this project and this initiative. Thank you for taking time. We're going to have a break now for, I don't know how long. Malik, thank you very much. This is your applause.